All right, good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome to the March meeting of CB11's Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:39 p.m. Tonight we are joined by Assistant District Manager Khalid Nixon. I got this. The staff liaison. Try to hear a title is too long. You need to shorten it.
That's it, EDM is
Just say my God. Our lovely staff liaison to our committee and lifeblood to making everything work around here. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may.
I'm sorry, Rosa.
Rosa. Okay, all right. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about the board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and we will recognize you. We will now take attendance by roll call. Committee members, please answer present when your name is called.
Okay, committee members, just a recap, 10 total members, 6 are needed for quorum. Rosa Diaz
Is present, but
present.
out of the room.
Jessica Elliott.
Present.
David Giordano. Present. Jewel Jones. Connie Lee.
Present.
Malik McCullough is excused. Debbie Quinones.
Present.
Ashley Rodriguez. Russell Schuler.
Present.
Michelle Wilson Clement.
Present.
Thank you. So we have 6 members present. We have the chair.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Thank you, David. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there is no objection, we'll adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand. We did make some final adjustments, so it's a slightly different, but equally good. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the minutes from the last meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Seeing no objections, the minutes from last meeting are adopted. The minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by myself. We will now move into our business. The first element of our agenda is announcements. Do we have any announcements?
I have an announcement.
Go ahead.
White Playground, there was some graffiti on the mural. Parks reached out and they were thinking about maybe just painting over the mural, but I asked them for some time and they agreed. I visited with a deputy speaker and hopefully this spring, she's gonna help us with some funding. A meeting with the artist next week on Tuesday, but we'll be restoring the mural in White Playground.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that great update. So the funding's already secured for that?
Well, Diana agreed to help. I have to give her a, line item budget and all that stuff. We'll probably need to raise some extra funding.
Okay. Great. Any questions for Connie? Any other announcements? Michelle?
I just wanted to give an update on Cherry Tree Park. Remember, we'd walked around and
Yes.
we wanted the horses to be painted because they were just shit paints all over it, and it's horrible for kids to be around that. And all those horses are painted.
Love it.
Which is beautiful. The rest of the park still needs to be updated.
Yeah.
And there's still chip paint on a lot of the other items in the park, but the horses are painted.
Yay. One thing down. Thank you for that update. Any questions for Michelle? All right, any other announcements? Moving along to our informational updates. Our first informational update from our city agency partners is from the Department of Parks and Recreation. Is there anyone? Dave?
See David Williams here.
Robert? I see Robert also. Reese is here.
David, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Dave Williams or Solera? You got Dave Williams here?
We have David Williams.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Yes, so the mayor's office is pushing forward with the Less Green NYC app, which is how can I say which is a community-based app to encourage, offer, and support local neighborhood volunteer groups to come out and register, sign up for, also participate in Parks Department, community-based and particularly Parks Department activities. So if you have any functions, it could be not only volunteer groups, it could be maybe a book reading you want to do in the neighborhood. Download the app, Google, I believe it's at the Play Store. I'll send a link out to President Elliott, so you guys have access to it as well. And it's just to encourage more community input into what's going on in the community and letting the mayor know how can the city help out with some of these things. So NYC Go is the name of the app. Daylight saving is coming up, and our park operation hours will change for the peak season hours, which would be our parks will be closing starting Sunday at 9 a.m. again. Our park comfort stations, our bathrooms will be closing at 6 p.m. Of course, based on weather that fluctuates, we may keep it open a little later. If it's rainy, cold outside, we may close it at the discretion of staffing. A lot of districts are going through a lot of shortage of staffing, so it is really plaguing the agency until hopefully we get some seasonal employees to start. So fingers crossed for that. And Cherry Tree, I just heard a couple of questions about Cherry Tree Playground. Yes, my staff painted those horses this Saturday. I have some volunteers coming out to spread some more mulch. And I am looking for a group to come out and help paint that play equipment, because I did notice the play equipment yesterday is in dire need of a paint job. So help is on the way.
Thank you,
I
David.
Great too.
Thank you, thank you.
I know, right? Thank you, David. Are there any questions for David? on
No, I
his-
was just gonna say, show some love to Harlem Art Park, cause our benches need some painting as well.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I want to use like a oil base, a aerosol spray, but I'm working on it. Don't worry about it. I'm working on it.
Yes.
Great. Any other questions for David? I see Robert's hand is also up. If he has any further updates?
I don't see Robert with a hand up, but I see a Shani
Okay.
Herrera.
Shani Herrera? Please feel free to ask your question.
Shani Herrera put something in the chat. She said, "Hello, everyone. My name is Shani Herrera, and I am the district manager for council member Yusuf Salam. I just wanted you all to know I'm here and listening. My camera doesn't seem to be working, but I'm here."
Thank you so much, Tapashi. Well, thank you for being here, Shani, and we appreciate you being here. If Tapashi, I just wanted to ask if there were any updates from your end.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So I am working with Marcus Garvey Park Alliance and MMPCIA for planning for Juneteenth. The Recreation Center in Marcus Garvey, the Pelham Fritz, is having the Harlem Swing Society on Saturday, March 9th from 2 to 4. Also, to celebrate Women's History Month, Pelham Fritz is having a tea party on March 22nd from 5 to 8. I also want to let you know some general overall historic Harlem Parks items, which would include Morningside, Jackie Robinson, and St. Nick, since they're all so close by. Morningside, Jackie Robinson, and St. Nick will be having the Harlem Sculpture Garden with an installation from late April to October. There'll be 7 sculptures in each of those parks. Some of them are cluster sculptures, so it's once so it's 7, but it could have like one sculpture. It's a few items, like 3 or even 5 pieces. Jackie Robinson Day is Sunday, April 14th. And also the Harlem Little League's opening day is April 6th, and that will be at Jackie Robinson as well. I would also like everyone to know about the New York City's Parks Great Tree Search. This is a relaunched program. The first one was in 1985, and 120 great trees were identified. Of those 120, only 65 remain. So this year, New York City Parks has relaunched the program, and in the second iteration has identified great trees as those with cultural, historical, and botanical significance. In the first iteration, it was many of the trees were in the large parks or in certain neighborhoods. So now we're trying to expand the definition so that every community board has a great tree. So I highly recommend and encourage everyone to go out and nominate a great tree in your neighborhood that has significance to you. Nominations are being accepted on a rolling basis, and there should be an announcement coming up in the summer. I have a link for that. I'll put that in the chat.
Thank you, Tapashi. Are there any questions for Parks Department? Go ahead, Michelle.
Does it matter where the tree is? I mean, because some trees are in someone's backyard. And I know of one that's in someone's front yard, and I love this tree every time I pass by it. And I would love to be able to nominate it, but are there any limitations to that?
You just called out the one limitation. So mainly it's trees that are city owned. So that is on the right of way. So it's sidewalk trees or trees within parks. We don't have the trees on private properties mapped, so that would be a little bit more challenging.
This one is mapped, actually.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
So you might be able to nominate it because the tree map is linked to the nomination page. So if it's mapped, I would go ahead and nominate it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Great. Any other questions for Parks? Okay. I do see Robert McLean in the chat. Are you able to, no, he's gone again. Oh, no, Robert. Do you need to unmute for any other updates from Parks? You can unmute yourself now, Robert.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I have some information. Yeah. So within 30 days, District 11 is getting $8,000 worth of brand new hand tools for the district. And we have a series of volunteer events. The first event is on April 10th for 20 people. That's going to be cleaning the park. April 16th, we have 100 people that'll be planting new gardens. On April 24th, we have another 100 people scheduled. They have to confirm. And then this year, for the first time, the gardener is going to concentrate on building a winter garden, you know, where the Christmas tree is in the front of the park. So we're selecting winter interest plants like hellebore, red twig dogwood, heather, keith, some ornamental grasses, and some snowdrop, some other type of ornamentals. So we want to change the design of the existing garden to make it a spectacular garden during the Christmas season. And so that's the information that I have.
Great. Thank you so much, Robert. Any questions for Robert? Great. Michelle, go ahead.
I was just curious, all the number of people that you mentioned, connected with each of those dates, those are actually numbers that you already have, or those are the numbers that you?
No, we have 20 people for the April 10th. We've also confirmed 100 people for April 16th. We've scheduled another 100 people for April 24th, and they said that's okay, and they just got to get back to us and confirm.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. And we will move on to our next city agency. Is anyone here from the Department of Sanitation? Is anyone here from the Department of Environmental Protection?
Hi, I'm here,
Hi,
Umberto.
how are you doing?
I'm fine. Good to see you, Khalid, everyone here. I'm so sorry. I just jumped on last minute. I saw my DEP on the agenda. See if you can see me. Okay, there we are.
Whoa.
I may shut that off, but I stuck around in the office. There's a possible water main break, but it turned out to be a leak at CB10 on Edgecombe. But I'm happy to be here. Good to see everyone. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any DEP related questions or concerns. I'm always available Monday to Friday, or whenever you want to talk about something DEP related or 301 complaints. I could just go over, I think you're asking for just information. I guess I could just do my normal spiel, what I do for in the district service cabinet level. I could go through two things very quickly, actually, which is the stats, right? You guys would like to may be interested in some stats. Basically, for your district, ladies and gentlemen, for the month of February, we received 102 311 complaints DP related. For the month of February in your district, the top three is construction before after hours with 27 complaints. The second is lead kit requests from residential dwellings, homes with 10 calls. And then the third is noise from barking dog with 9 complaints. Going back to the lead kit requests, I don't want to alarm everyone, but lead is basically you can't see, smell, or taste. However, sometimes what residents, when residents report a water quality issue to 301, they sometimes submit it using this category, or they feel as if using this water sample would determine if their water is safe to drink or not. I want to reassure everyone that New York City water supply is safe to use and drink. The lead kit is specifically for lead from lead service lines. Basically, if you have an old home from 1960s, 1970s, old plumbing, fixtures, etc. And that anyone can make that request if they feel like they have that concern. By all means, it is something that the requester would have to be involved. We send you a kit with 2 bottles. You do have to return it to us with the water sample. We send it to our lab, and then we send you a report with our findings. And then just dog barking, I don't want to get too involved with that, but there's always dog barking issues in the city. As we know, we all live with our friendly and furry friends. A lot of times, you know, we can't go into buildings. Dogs will bark, usually if they're left alone for a long period of time. I also just want to mention actually something very important, and I'm sorry, I talk too much and I take up too much of your time.
No, we appreciate you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. Something that's very important, we started this year, we're doing enforcement action on delinquent water accounts. So as everybody knows, all property owners, whether you're one family, two family, three family, commercial property, whatever, if you're a property owner, you do have to pay your water and sewer bills. Since the COVID era, unfortunately, a lot of people suffered hardship. They had hardship in terms of paying their bills, and we understand that. Once we got to that post-COVID stage, we offered some programs, some incentives to come to us and start paying your bills again. We offered to take the interest fees away, including some other programs from the state that apply to some homeowners that qualify depending on your income and other criterias. But at this point, there are some bad apples, and I don't mean family. Usually, you know, one or two, three family homeowners is usually people who have means to pay their bills, and they have not paid their bills for over a year. So if you have not paid your bills over a year, water and sewer debt, and you owe over 1,000 or thousands of dollars, we have started enforcement action. Whereas we have sent these properties, we know who they are, letter stating that you need to come to us and come to an accord, or we can shut off your water. You don't want it. Yeah, that's the last straw. And we are at that point of the last straw, because it doesn't matter if you can't afford it. You know, like I said, everyone has struggles, every homeowner, but you have to come to us and let us know. We could always fit you into a program, or we can work out a monthly payment program. We're not going to necessarily turn you in and say, no, you have to pay this amount or else. That's usually not the case with us. However, there are properties that have not paid. And the one thing that caught my eye, which I just got a list of today, and it's not just a surprise, but a lot of properties are in Manhattan. The enforcement action that we know that we're going to take action is for 2,900 accounts, properties citywide, but a lot of them are in Manhattan. One of them that caught my eye was La Marqueta. Now, I'm just throwing this out there because I know that, oh, hello. Um,
Just one more layer.
All right, let's let him finish. Thank you. Go ahead, Humberto.
Speaking of dog barking, okay. I have here La Marqueta marker building number 3, 113th Street and 114th Street. They do owe a hefty amount of money, and I believe they have received a letter from us. So if you do get any communication from them, I don't know who the owner is. I don't have more information, but I know that you have ties. The Marqueta has ties to CB11, speaking with Angel, etc. If you do hear from them, please let them know to reach out to us, and we can have a conversation and hopefully come to an accord. Okay, I'll leave it at that. So yeah, do you have anything for for me to uh, you know, look into, or anything you'd like to know? Anything else?
I think just generally, we leave space for all three of the city agencies that touch this, committee to give informal, like, updates as you've just given, but we also ask that, you know, as Parks is here and they generally stay on the phone, you know, throughout the meeting, that depending on the agenda items that you might be willing to stay, you know, for certain parts of the meeting that relate to DEP. For example, we had, you know, We Act present, a bus shelter proposal, and, you know, some other items on the agenda that it sometimes would just be great to have DEP representation for collaboration on those topics. And, but we're just happy to have you. And are there any questions for DEP?
I just had a simple question. I know a person that lives in a house that's over 100 years old. I would really like to find a way, a simple way of getting one of the kids. And is there a simple,
How do you get a
how
kid?
long does it take to get to
Okay.
the individual?
How do you get a kit and how long does it take?
311 or email me the information. I'll be happy to go through the process with you. We mail it in as soon as we get the request. But it also depends on how fast you can get us the samples. Once we receive the samples, we send it to a lab. That generally takes about 3 to 4 weeks, and then we mail you the letter with the report.
So about a month.
Yeah, for
Got it.
more or less, because we have to wait for you to mail, we mail it to you, then you have to mail it back. We send it to the lab, and the lab takes a little bit of time because we have so many requests. And they do their analysis, and then we write up a letter, what we find. The parameters are, you know, if there's contaminants, but basically we look for lead, stemming from plumbing. And then we'll include that. We'll give some information about health department and what you can do, what the owner can do, etc. But if it's 100-year-old plumbing and it has not been replaced, that is an issue. I would always suggest run the cold tap water before you drink it, boil water if you're cooking, whatever the case may be. If you have not changed, replaced the service line to your building. A lot of fixtures in the apartments, or sometimes if you renovate the building, the plumbing may have been upgraded, etc. But that's a good question because it is 100 years old. It's likely to have an issue. But it did last, which is good because plumbing does corrode. So I guess we are doing a good thing, a good job, because we do add some things to the water to help. It's like a film to help reinforce the plumbing so it doesn't rust away as quickly as it should.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Roberto. And we'll move on to the next item of our agenda, which is any informational updates from park advocacy groups. Go ahead.
Just one, I think it's March 28th at Harlem Art Park. We're gonna have a pink wall of resistance for Women's History, kind of like talk about the state of our bodies. It's a networking session. We're just gonna invite folks to talk about the state of our bodies and the attacks that are happening in terms of policy. And that's gonna be from like 1 to 4.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
On March the 28th.
yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions for Harlem Art Park? All right, moving along, do we have any other parks advocacy groups here to give an informational update? Please raise your hand. Nice.
Oh,
Go ahead, Donna.
hi, I'm sorry, I'm trying to raise my hand and I can't find it.
Oh,
It's good to see everybody. Yes, we have so many updates for you tonight. Our island seems to be completely under construction, but everything is organized and being managed. So the construction is ongoing with the new ramps being built on the island. Champlain Hudson Power Express, also known as Chippy, is now on site for the past few weeks. They're setting up and getting ready to start their initiative, which is an underwater and underground power cable project linking the Quebec area to Astoria, Queens, and it will run through the wetlands of the Bronx Shore area on Randall's Island. Icon Stadium construction continues with the soccer pitch, as well as the plaza redesign and final placement of the discus thrower statue. And the unveiling for that will be held on April 16th. The HERC facility maintains a capacity of 3,000 asylum seekers. NYPD is still on site. And now for the fun stuff. Our baseball fields open on March 17th, while the grass soccer fields open on April 1st. Let's see, we are still in the process of finalizing our major event schedule for the season, with many returning events such as Pokemon Go Fest, Vegandale, and Curl Fest. And we're really thrilled to have many new events coming to Randall's Island this year. And we will keep you posted on that. And lastly, partnering with RIPA's Public Programming Division. Keep in mind, they host over 200 free public events, including tours, waterfront activities, Earth Day and Harvest festivals, and volunteer opportunities, including our Earth Day Festival will be Saturday, April 20th from 12 to 3 at the Urban Farm area. We have a Team River volunteering, which starts next Wednesday and will continue on Wednesdays from 9:30 to 12:30. And these volunteers regularly work in the natural areas team, twice a month, taking care of and restoring our natural spaces on the island. We have another event called Let's Go Birding Together with the New York City Audubon Society, which will be held on March 30th from 10 to 11:30. And it's a great tour to walk around the island with these experienced bird guides and in search of all types of birds, and everyone's welcomed. And then finally, we have a spotted lanternfly egg hunt, which will be held on April 13th from 1 to 3. And I think that basically does it.
Great, thank you so much, Donna. And just to let you know, we will be revisiting the HERC discussion at the end of our meeting in old business today, as well as at the upcoming executive meeting where they will take a decision at that committee. So we thank you for your correspondence and all the information about that, and we, you know, hope to discuss it and come to some conclusions this month.
Absolutely.
Great. And since Donna mentioned Earth Day, I just remember that I forgot to announce that the 3rd annual East Harlem Earth Day Conference will be held on April 19th, which is a Friday. I'm sure everyone on this call is aware of that event and will be not surprised when we reach out to you shortly with an invitation to collaborate. So look forward to that. And with that, are there any questions for Randall's Island Park Alliance? Michelle.
A quick question, I was wondering if Punk Island is going to occur as one of the events this summer?
I'm sorry, did you say Punk Island?
Yes. It
No,
had been previously, and then it wasn't there last summer. I was wondering if it was returning again this summer.
no, we don't have that on our schedule. They haven't reached out.
Okay, thank you. And then I did not hear what you had on April 1st.
April 1st, that is when our grass soccer fields open, April 1st, and our baseball fields open on March 17th.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great. Any other questions for Randall's Island? Great. Thank you so much, Donna. And we will move on. Are there any other parks advocacy groups who would like to give an informational update? Seeing none, we will move along to any other community-based organizations that would like to give an informational update. All right, moving along, we will move into our first presentation and discussion from New York City Department of Parks and Recreation and EDC. Is Sarah on the line? Or team?
Sarah is here. Sarah.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Jessica. I think we had talked and we actually decided that we would postpone this item.
Oh, okay, the whole item. I'm so sorry, I misunderstood.
No, that's okay. Should I explain or?
No, I think just to give an update that we will have a larger presentation about the 107th Street Pier project at the next meeting in April. We were originally gonna have a quick presentation, but that was rescheduled, and apologies, Sarah, that I messed it up on the agenda.
No, that's okay. And I think the reason is that we thought it would make more sense to talk about the signs related to the project after we've talked more about the actual project. So we kind of got it in the wrong order. So so we'll see you guys next month and maybe even the one after to if we need to follow up. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for being here. All right, our first presentation will be the East Harlem waterfront of the East River Esplanade concept proposals for waterfront revitalization and expansion with Civitas.
Oh, wow.
That
I can't do the script without fumbling over it, but I can do that, so.
Okay, can everybody hear me online as well? Can everybody hear me online?
We can.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Absolutely, sounds good.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Vice Chair Jessica Elliott, ADM Khalil Nixon, elected officials who might be on the call, but I can't see right now, and of course, community board members. Thank you for the opportunity to present our Esplanade proposal to you this evening. My name is Sharon Hope Marshall, and I am the Executive Director for Civitas. Last month, I co-authored an article with two other individuals that was published in City Limits. And the title of that article is "In the Year of the Greenways, Let's Insist on Equity." This evening, Civitas is proud to present for your consideration our waterfront proposal that insists on equity. The proposal's genesis and evolution incorporated a single question and a single answer. Is this what equity looks like for El Barrio, East Harlem? We answered that in this proposal a resounding yes. Your feedback regarding this proposal will only energize, inspire, and motivate all of us toward Esplanade equity for the El Barrio East Harlem waterfront. Presenting our proposal is Nicholas Alexander and Kevin Simic, Civitas board members and community residents. We'll answer your questions at the end of the proposal. Nicholas?
Can you repeat your names again? Nicholas
Nicholas Alexander,
Alexander and
Kevin Simic,
Kevin Simic. How do you spell your last name?
SIMDK.
Thank you.
So, hi, I'm Nicholas Alexander. It's very nice to meet you all,
Nice to meet you.
and thank you very much for having us. I would just like to preface this presentation by saying this proposal would be, and we propose it to be phased into the current EDC proposal and in addition to that proposal. So what the EDC is doing right now is wonderful and it's great, but it's limited in scope to the budget that they have. And so we would like to expand on that budget. So next slide. So first I'll set the background here. In 2021, the city dedicated about $350 million specifically for the replacement of in-kind structure and facilities that are currently on the East Harlem waterfront. On this slide, you can kind of see the different areas there. And we can move on to the next slide, I think. But it's basically focusing on planting, re-updating the lighting, fixing up the benches and the walkways and that kind of thing. And from what I saw last year, it looked like a pretty good proposal that they're working on. However, a couple of the things that we noticed is that it doesn't necessarily go far enough, in our opinion. If you walk from Gracie Mansion from the 80s up towards 96th Street, towards 92nd Street, you'll see beautiful parks, really luscious landscape, enough space for bikes, for children to run around, for people to hang out by the ferry, and almost a whimsical way to traverse through like a garden-esque area over there. And then the minute you get to around 96th Street, it's cramped. And if you're on a bicycle, you need to get off and walk or you're gonna hit somebody. And you lose all the landscape and the amenities that just further south you do have. And if you can keep going to the next slide, please. And so on the left here is a map of the current area being considered by the EDC and what's in their proposal at the moment. You've got the 96th Street area up to 107th Street. But what I do want to highlight here is this stretch between 107th and around 117th Street is left untouched. And so they have not been able to plan anything for that area at this time. I'd also like to point out in our proposal, this is what we basically be looking at. So first, we'd like to, and Kevin will go into these details a little bit further as well. First, we'd like to propose some natural elements to the waterfront, a sloping shoreline, something to promote tidal habitat there. We'd like to propose additional park space, so an expansion beyond what is currently there. So we have proposed expansions at around the 96th Street area, which we have definitely identified as a problem area. And then again, up around 120th Street. And then we'd like to propose additional recreational piers. And perhaps a walkway as well, to an overpass walkway to the 107th Street Pier that they're planning on revitalizing already. And you can go to the next slide. Kevin?
Yeah, so I'll reiterate some of the items Nick brought up, especially between 107th and 117th, which in the current proposal are not being touched. So we envision 2 additional piers, not just the 107th Street Pier, which is moving forward, but a pier on 111th Street, where there's currently a concrete block that's in place, a previous dock, and on 116th Street, which is where the previous Washburn factory was located. So again, highlighting especially this stretch on 96th Street, where the walkway is very, very narrow. So ideally would like to see that at least doubled in size, just to create a clear, safe path, increased bike use, families with strollers, leisure walkers. And you can, if anyone's been to the new expansion on 55th to 63rd, it's beautiful. They did a really, really great job. And a lot of room for people to maneuver, stop. I mean, you're in real danger if you choose to stop in this area because of the amount of bikes and traffic that are passing through. So along this area, Nick spoke to it briefly, we would like to have a walkway which would also continue to the 107th Street Pier. So you would have an additional pedestrian walkway. So this would happen in collaboration and sequentially to what EDC and the Parks Department is doing. So we would not want to impede on the timeline or take away from space that people could use. This can be worked on and renovated while the pedestrian walkway is being built. Next, please. So again, in terms of resiliency, so a lot of the Esplanade is currently built on a piling system. So we think it would be important to look at, for the city to look at a potential infill system. So having the Esplanade built on infill and having this natural rock slope edge to help with increased water levels. We've seen in the past horrible hurricanes and the effects it's had, not just on the walkway, but the FDR, the communities along the walkway. So having some natural rock slope here will help with rising water level and also from storm surge, wave energy, anything that could crash into the Esplanade. And next, please. And again, the importance of having more greenery, vegetation, and wetlands leading up to the Esplanade. So encouraging natural habitat along the Esplanade and providing for a cleaner water source, cleaner air, we think would be very useful to have along the walkway. Next, please. So we're really here to gather support and additional funding. So for $200 million to the state, so going to the Environmental Bond Act, other city, state, and federal funding that would potentially be needed. This is something we want to work and look forward to working with the EDC and the Parks Department on, working, collaborating. They've done a phenomenal job so far. We just would like to have the support of CB11 and East Harlem residents to expand what is already in place along the East River.
Do you guys have any questions or comments? We'd be happy to, have a dialogue with you now.
Yes.
What do you mean by in kind?
So according to how we read the the budget parameters that the New York City EDC, I guess, is granted, the in kind means basically what's there, we can improve upon it. Instead of, we'll add, 10 feet of walkway in the river kind of thing.
It's a renovation and update.
So it's not more money.
No, so the addition, so what,
Proposing to bring in more money to the existing
correct.
300 and something.
No, we are proposing to bring in money for, basically, it would be a phase 2 almost,
Okay.
right? Like a phase 2 project, something that does expand what we do have now,
Thank you.
not just an in-kind replacement. That's what we want to avoid.
Okay.
So I have a couple comments and questions. I think, we would love to see everything that you've proposed come to life. I think this is nothing but everything that we've said from the very beginning of the conversations. I think there are some things that we need to understand. I know that like a lot of what we've heard from Parks and EDC, especially as we were talking about the 107th Street Pier, was that we could only put out into the water what was being removed. So it's an equal equal exchange for what it in kind, exactly, thank you. But I think what we've reiterated to the powers that be is that we want to understand why that is the case specifically in this area, and why we've talked about ferries, for example, and why if there's challenges with the water specific to this area of the East River, that we want to understand exactly why, from who, and what the constraints are, so that we can understand what can be done. Have you done work to understand what those constraints are?
I haven't done environmental studies on the waterfront, no.
Right.
But, just from my experience and, I work in real estate as well. And so my experience in development and my experience just witnessing what else is going on around the city. If there's, if there's a will, there's a way, right? If there's a budget for it, they can make it happen. If we ask for it, the worst they can say is, well, we can't do this, but maybe we can get this done. But the fact is, their budget right now is, constricted to in-kind replacement. That's why they said, we can't do a ferry, or we can only fix the 107th Street, because it's already there. And so right now they don't have, the leeway. I don't think they have the leeway to even use that budget for an expansion, because it's not written into that grant, I guess, that they received.
So I think that there are two issues here, and thank you so much, Jessica, for mentioning the complexities,
Yeah.
if you will. And we understand that. I mean, but on the other hand, I think I'd like to circle back to what looks like what equity looks like for El Barrio East Harlem. And we have to keep in mind the difference between below 96th Street and above 96th Street. And the west side. Thank you. Exactly. Yeah.
Around the whole island.
Yeah, 100%. So, on a macro level, we have these ideas and we have these complexities. We have to reaffirm that this is what we want. And at the end of the day, they're gonna have to figure out how it can be done. And so we want to amplify the voices of the community board already and be a part of that process and have that sort of be the wind in the sail for both EDC as well as Parks. And they're both totally phenomenal, great agencies, both EDC and Parks. I mean, Parks seems to create miracles every day, and we know that they have almost next to nothing of a budget. And EDC does have some type of budget and they get things done. So we're so happy with both of them. But yet we do have to push back when they say to us, these are the complexities. So you know what, let us know. to your point, Jessica, let us know what those complexities are. And by the way, below 96th Street was an extremely complex project.
Always is.
And they were able to pull that together. I think that what looks like equity for East Harlem is at the minimum of what's below 96th Street. That's a minimum, that's the starting point for us.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I just have one more question before I bring it around to Joel and then Michelle. There was an image about the rock sloping. I guess, so as I understand from Parks and EDC projects, there's sort of also two phases to their work, and that they're elevating to a level to avoid sea level rise, and then there's a future 100-year floodplain that is also anticipated for like a future elevation of that. How do you all see that sloped rock elements sort of fitting in with that rise?
Well, I think, you know, if they believe, it's a starting place, it's a talk.
Yeah.
So if they believe, you know, hey, you know, number one, it's more picturesque than just having something risen up a little higher, right? And so if they believe, oh, we can just rise this up a little higher, you know, it's a budgetary constraint, so it's what we have to do. Okay, but if there's room in the budget to make a beautified riverfront, then why wouldn't we ask for a beautified riverfront? And that also goes to the resiliency that we had in the next slide with the greenery and the plantings within the waterfront as well. I don't know if you can go to the next slide.
Where it leads into a cul.
But there, exactly. So, you know, obviously, you know, that's gonna cost money and maybe it's not feasible in certain areas, but we'd like them to at least investigate if it is feasible in certain areas, why don't we do it? You know, that would be a really beautiful feature to have on our waterfront.
Being that it's already where it is, how it looks, that's how it should be a continuum, just like that. It shouldn't even be non-negotiable, that's what it should be.
Exactly.
I'm gonna pass it over to Jewel and then Michelle, and then I'll bring it to, sorry.
So, one word, yes. But, you know, I mean, an organization such as Civitas on our side, in support of this, with your ideas, your proposals, you know, it's a win-win for us, so yes to everything you just said. So, and really, when we look at this through an equity lens, you know, everything that almost exists in East Harlem, look at through an equity lens. I could talk about the sanitation garage for days, 99th Street, if it's, you know, just everything, you know, and so thank you, and yes.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you very much.
Michelle?
I also want to say and echo what Jewel Jones just said, yes. And each time that this idea was brought up previously, my question was safety of pedestrians, safety of children. Also, I'm gonna bring it up, the bathroom not being there, for human use. There is a part of down south of 96th Street where they did not have space, so they actually built an elevated portion of a park that was not even connected to the island. And we don't have space enough. I mean, it's something so simple, and there's so many different ideas that were brought up south of 96th Street. And the in-kind for us hurt when you could just see a few blocks away, the extreme disparity that happens. And what will happen to us when there is money, more ideas put on the table always help. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for having
much,
us.
thank you.
Sorry, did you want to say?
I was just gonna add about this natural estuary is what it originally was. So in terms of maintenance and long-term habitats, natural, I mean, we talk about the environmental part of it with whatever coverage, you know,
Right.
shadow coverage. But this is what it originally is supposed to be, so, so it's really just saying, let's bring it back to its natural state. And that's what it should be, that's what it wants to be if it were left, if we were to take away what was built before, you know.
Right, it's like in Florida, the mangroves
Yeah.
are there to protect
Exactly.
against the hurricanes, but when you cut all the mangroves down.
You can't-
you get in trouble.
So you can argue that this is the most natural built environment, it's built by nature.
Right, yeah,
And it absorbs the same way, and it's so much better for the environment and for whatever storm surges happen in the future.
great. Are there any other questions or comments, David and then Connie?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanna touch on what Michelle raised. I think everything is great. However, you know, every time a project comes here within this scope, say, where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom along this stretch from one point of our community to the tip? And the bathroom will be used, and the bathroom will be there if you don't put it. It just won't be where you want it. And that's human nature. So this young lady made comment about natural. Going to the bathroom is pretty natural.
Yes,
That's
you know,
all.
I want you to know, we're really, really quite sympathetic to having restrooms. Jessica and I have talked about that as well, because when you don't have restrooms, you know, on the sidewalk, I mean, on the Esplanade, as he said, what happens is that, you know, alternatives will be explored.
Right.
And utilized. But the other part of it is that you're saying only a certain group of people can use the Esplanade.
Yeah.
Certainly not families with kids, for
Or
example.
seniors?
Certainly not the elderly, for example. And so when you look at it from that lens, where, you know, there should be a comfort station. And I know that that's very important and has been a top priority for board members and this committee in particular.
And just on that point, I know we've, in the, you know, 125th to 132nd project that will be named the future Richard Toussaint Park, that portion of the project has the ability to have a bathroom, just lacks the funding for that bathroom. And while, you know, we are working with the Manhattan Borough President's Office and the sort of one bathroom additional for every zip code, that would be a prime example of the first suggestion that we would make for that zip code. But we have, I think, to your point about throwing ideas at the wall to see what is possible. Simone from Red or Green and Blue Eco, let me get my colors right. Green and Blue Eco Care also suggested like other, you know, sustainable toilet situations. And I think, again, you know, I can understand as an architect that, you know, it is difficult to bring out the utility connections to make a typical bathroom work. But you know, what are our other options and, you know, how can we, if this is a proposal that is asking for additional funding, could it include funding for that restroom that is already cited at least, and what other options can we explore? Connie and then Russell.
I'm kind of practical. And I always say, you know, pick your battles. I think that a broad overview of like what we don't have, we have the same conversations all the time. We have the same conversations about equity. I think we need to focus on what might be the things to address some direct solutions and the crossover bridge. And situated where it would actually provide instant access to a bathroom, which already does exist on, you know, we have this unique situation. Besides being a narrow piece of land, we have a very wide highway in the middle. So, you know, the pier was decided to reconstruct at 107th Street rather than, what was it, 111? Because there is a bathroom at like 106 or 7th Street on the other side. You know, I think if we focus on things that could address more than one problem at a time. So we do need more access to this riverfront, because of the highway. And, the existing access is quite far apart. So for a lot of people, it's just, you know, whether you have small kids or old people, it's hard to get there. I can get there, you know, most of us can get there without any problem, but a lot of people can't. It's, I think, gonna be more practical to focus on bathrooms on the mainland, so to
Yeah.
speak, and then access from the mainland to the Esplanade. More frequent access, you can literally walk across and go to the bathroom, rather than trying to bring the infrastructure, the plumbing underneath the highway, and it doesn't exist, so it's not there. But I think we need to pick and choose the things that we can maybe really push for and focus in on, you know, one or two. I also think that it might be really helpful for every time we have a presentation from Parks and EDC, that you guys are in the room. Because, you know, where you get updates fairly frequently. I was on the artist selection panel, so I saw lots of designs and updates, more recently than a lot of other people. And, you know, there were bump outs into the water and stuff like that that are coming through in the pipeline. And I think that's a good start. Yeah, I just think it'd be really helpful if you guys are in the room. So they're all seeing the same information at the same time.
So we'll see you the next 2 months.
Or at least a representative, you know.
And you can certainly join virtually, but just like we asked the city agencies to be in the room when we have proposals and presentations on things so that they can weigh in, it's equally important that we have, you know, as many people from our community-based organizations there to comment and weigh in as well, because that's really the whole point of the community board.
Imagine that.
Honestly, they're tired of listening to.
Exactly.
Debbie.
I understand it, yeah.
Russell?
I'm on the compensation / bathroom mode. We've been talking about that for years. I would like to, first of all, the board president earlier this week has his crusade going on now to try to get compensation bathrooms in every zip code for the public. I want to de-emphasize how we emphasize children and seniors, just to get our point across, but all human beings need to go to the bathroom. So we're saying it should be a part of the conversation where we have all these projects along the waterways, around the whole greenway around the island. We know where the disparities come in certain neighborhoods, but it should be a push to that, not separate whether it's gonna be children or seniors. We all know, so that means if we all there right now, somebody gotta go, where we going? But yet, our city provides adequately for our pets. You can walk your pet can go. But then we gotta run and jump across the highway, whatever. That's the emphasis. If we could just say humans need bath restrooms, because that's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
And then certain guys, certain ladies, when you get younger, gotta go more frequently, unannounced, on schedule. I said, you get younger, you get younger. Let's see.
Michelle, one more.
Just one, quick one. I just wanted to emphasize that, yes, I understand the whole thing about going across the highway and if there's a bathroom way on the other side, but if you have children with you, going way on the other side, 7-minute, 8-minute walk with a kid that has to go to the bathroom could be a lot, well, might not get there.
Yeah.
Having something in the area that you are in is better. Just wanted to put that on the table.
Debbie?
So, full disclosure, I'm a former board member of Civitas.
Yeah.
Are you Mark's son?
Yes, I am.
Tell him Debbie Keenan to say hi. He's gonna cringe, but, just, so, what's funny is I have a picture of myself. And I think this is like maybe 15 years ago, where I proposed the development of the the pier on 107th Street and called it Culture Island or something. And it's just funny that, you know, like, here we are, but I have to say that Civitas has always done good. You know, I've always really appreciated the commitment that you have to East Harlem. The skills that you bring to the discussion, because, way back then, you know, we were struggling with a lot of different things, as Civitas was clearly a partner. With zoning, with, you know, just all the great folks there, that were doing good work, and I would, you know, I wholeheartedly support this. And just wanna support you any way I can. I was a terrible board member, but I was there. It's just, I'm just saying that Civitas has always been committed to doing work in East Harlem, bringing their expertise when we didn't have it. And that was clearly something that, you know, we appreciated, with all the great folks that did good work there.
Thank you.
So I appreciate that. So I just wanted to say
Can
that.
I?
Rosa?
Yes, so to weigh in on what everyone has said with regards to the bathroom. Also to remember to do it like gender neutral bathrooms, not just male or female, right? Because we are a very diverse community, and to be spacious. You know what I mean? Cause everyone is different sizes, and when we go with our kids.
Not like the buses.
You know, you know what I mean? Cause, oh my goodness. So that's what I also wanted to say.
If I could just wrap up and say the feedback has been absolutely fabulous, and thank you so much for this time. I want to mention two people that are not here this evening, and that's Jim Tripp and also Bill Bateson. They are the brains.
Yeah.
We're the beauty here. They are the brains, and I am, and we are actually indebted to both Jim Tripp as well as Bill Bateson. And just know that we're here for you. And we're going to continue to gently push back because we do work collaboratively with EDC as well as the Parks Department, as well as state officials and entities. So that way we can go ahead and see if there's, you know, some aspects of it that we could bring to fruition.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Sharon, and everyone for being here.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Debbie. April 30th. April 30th, we have our annual benefit, and it's at 6:30. It's going to be held at the Dominican Academy, which is 44 East 68th Street. And we have some information about that on our website. And also, if you would like additional information about it, I'm happy to give you my telephone number. And you know, just call me and let me know.
Perfect.
Ready?
Thank you. And just to confirm, I think, if there's anything that you need from us, just let us, I know there's not a specific ask at this time, but,
Actually,
yeah.
in her submitted.
Oh, you are asking?
Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
ADM Nixon, I appreciate that. Let's see.
I got a text from Joanna. She said, thank you for the support. I'm watching online. She wish you could be here.
Okay.
So what, as you all know, our typical process is to hear a proposal before we make an action at the following meeting. I think it would be good to hear from Parks and EDC next month, and to be in just consistent communication and collaboration with each other. And
yes.
We hope to understand, you know, more about, you know, what is possible, and to, you know, see how we can support you all with, you know, the realities of what is possible. So I appreciate, you know, you all coming and reiterating a lot of the same points that we've been reiterating for years, and appreciate your partnership in this effort. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. We are going to move on to our old business. We have an update from, as Donna noted earlier, their construction has been staged, but Champlain Hudson Power Express is here to give an update.
Hi, thank you first of all for having us. I'm Jen Laird White. I think we were last here in 2021. It took a while to get to this point, but we have started construction. I'm with my colleague Steve Rutke and my colleague Paul Wesky, and they're going to handle the bulk of the presentation. We do have a quick PowerPoint we'll go through that sort of outlines where we're at in construction, and then we'll happily take your questions.
Great. Could you just confirm the names again? Because you all look like you're signed in as
Yeah, we all look like Hannah Gonzalez.
So I see Steve Rutley. We have Jen Laird, right? Is that
Laird
right?
White, W-H-I-T. Yep. And then
right.
Paul Wesky. Paul, you can wave. And I'm just going to start off by saying, you know, the PowerPoint has an introductory slide. We will send that to you. I feel like from a time perspective, since everybody's mostly aware of the project, it would be better to jump right to construction, but you tell me if you want. And Donna did a great job of giving a little overview of what we are. You know, we're a,
I think the committee is well aware of the project. And if, you know, maybe just a quick 30-second, you know, I think we don't need too much more than that. And you can jump into your larger points.
Perfect. All right, I'll pull it up now. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so here is the first project overview slide. And again, we'll share this with all of you so that everybody can review it. We are a 1,250 megawatt fully buried HVD transmission project that's going to provide 20% of New York City's energy. It's clean hydropower coming from Quebec. I think the most important thing for people in New York City is we're going to reduce emissions equivalent to removing 44% of the cars from city streets. We're 60% in waterways, 40% buried underground. Jess knows we've been working on this for years and years and years, but we're finally coming to fruition. We're expected to be in service in 2026.
Wow.
And part of our route in New York City comes down the Harlem River, comes ashore on the edge of the Bronx, then crosses over to Randall's Island. We run along parts of Randall's Island, and then we go deep under the East River and resurface in Astoria, where the energy will be converted from DC voltage to AC and fed into the system. So I think I'll move very quickly to the that I know everyone's interested in, which is what's going on Randall's Island. And I think my colleague Steve Rutke can take it from here.
Thank you, Jen. Hi, everybody. So as Jen described, we're trying to get all the way from Canada to Queens, which is quite an engineering challenge. And the last stretch of it is why we're here tonight. So on the left part of this slide is where we make our way out of the Hudson River and into the Harlem River, and then eventually come down through Randall's Island over to Astoria, Queens, where we're building a new converter station that's under construction. If you're over there, you'll see it rising out of the ground. That converts our power from a direct current system to a more conventional alternating current system. And from there, we still have 3.3 miles to go under the streets of Queens, which is the purple line you see on the bottom of the left-hand part of the slide. In the zoom view on the right, you can see how we make our way across Randall's Island, which is to first land near the waste management facility in Harlem River Yard, and then come across via technology called horizontal directional drilling. So we're going to drill down under the Bronx Kill and land within Randall's Island. And then we have a trench, a conventional utility trench, for about 1,500 feet across the island to the northeast corner. And then we again horizontally directional drill now under the East River all the way over to Queens, some 5,000 feet. This is the longest drill. We have about 100 drilling operations in the 150 land miles of the project, and this is by far the longest one to make that final stretch over to Queens. Next slide, Jen. So here's the details, and this will be easier to see when you have it in your hands, but there's a lot of engineering complexity to this. But if you spot those green rectangles, those are splice vaults. And effectively between those splice vaults is where we're trenching instead of drilling. There's some slight exceptions to that, but we are landing coming off your screen to the left on that first green rectangle where it says splice vault, and then trenching across past fields 48 and 46 under the railroad bridge into another splice vault. And in the blue hatch there where it says tidal marsh area, that's where you'll see our initial activity that's under construction now. To accomplish that long horizontal directional drill, we've had to build a platform there. So we've built a timber platform with concrete V-lock blocks making a border along the waterfront, and that's for our drilling equipment, which is going to be mobilizing soon to do that drilling operation. And the top part of the page is the plan view, and as we make our way through the fields area, you can see that we're ringing around the fields and keeping the fields in play, no pun intended, but we're trying to get through a lot of underground utilities all through there. We have utilities from other utility providers serving the park that are already present. So we're mostly following the same route used by other utilities, but we'll be below them. In the bottom of the screen, you can see our profile. And again, there's the same two green rectangles. So we're coming out of the drill on the left from deep underground, underwater, and between the green rectangles traversing the park. It's hard to see, but there's a call out that says ground line dashed. We are typically on average 9+ feet deep between those green vaults. And the shallowest we are is on the order of 7 feet as we come across there. As you can see, we're generally level between the two green rectangles. This profile is exaggerated 5 times vertically. So what looks like it's really undulating is actually quite flat. And as we leave the screen to the right is where we're doing our other directional drill over to Astoria. So those two green structures are concrete vaults, and that will be a pretty prominent operation too when we set those vaults under the ground. But we're trying to build the whole premise of our project is a kind of out of sight, out of mind project. But to get the thing in the ground and out of sight is quite a challenge for our team. Next slide, Jen. So this shows what our trench looks like between the green rectangles. And on the right is our engineering typical section, which it says is not to scale, so that the proportions aren't exactly right. But generally speaking, we're, as I said, generally 7 to 9+ feet underground. And that's measured to the top of a rigid concrete duct bank that's going to surround our conduits. So shown on the left is a photo taken at our office where we have the actual PVC conduits, which are the two gray, white, larger diameter circles, and in between a smaller conduit that's going to carry a fiber optic communication line that serves our project controls. But within there, what the red arrows pointing to is our actual piece of our cable. So that's how big our cable is. It's about 5 inches in diameter, about that big. And all that structure you see on the left is encased in concrete, rigid concrete. And then our trench is filled back up with a special fluidized thermal backfill, which is a low strength concrete product that has special thermal properties and helps dissipate the heat generated by our cables. Above that, in coordination with New York City Parks, we have, first of all, the restoration of any, we're mostly following paved roadways and trails. We'll be restoring that pavement. But we also are using sub-base stone so that any parks projects don't have to interface with our thermal backfill. That was a special request by the city. Next slide, Jen. Okay, and then here's our construction. Yes.
Steve, you
thank
want to pause? I just saw Paul went and got the line so he can hold it
Oh.
up.
Yeah, I thought I'm here at the office, so a little bit of scale, next to my head.
There you go. So we're putting two of those in the ground.
And two
to
of
say-
those will power 20% of the city.
Pretty amazing. It really is. So.
And Paul's a strong man, but that's a pretty heavy piece of cable he's holding there.
And I do have a big head, so to scale, it's pretty big, pretty big.
Very big. Thank you, Paul. Paul is overseeing our construction, and Paul's frequently present there on Randall's. Here's the schedule. Working with New York City Parks, we've divided our construction permits into 4 phases. And phase 1 is what's already under construction. And in fact, as you can see by the dates, I appreciated the gentleman pointing out earlier that daylight savings time is coming up. So that's a nice surprise. But so we'll have more daylight to work. And by March 18th, we'll be ready to mobilize our drilling equipment. We have photos coming up on the next slide, I believe, but you'll see our working platform for the equipment. And then we'll be spending quite some time, you see, from March all the way through December, just accomplishing that long drilling operation from Randall's Island over to Queens, and also the entry from Harlem River Yard onto Randall's Island. So we'll be mostly working on the drilling. And then when that is complete, toward the end of this calendar year and through spring of 2025, we'll be doing that trench section, the part between setting those 2 green rectangle vaults and trenching between. What we're really building first is actually an empty conduit system. And then those cables that Paul was holding get pulled through at the very end. So that's the phase 4 operation. The cables are delivered on reels, and the reels have essentially a maximum length. And so we have a splicing operation that happens in those vaults. And we have specialty personnel who are going to enter the vaults and make one cable join the other in a very precise operation. And once we've backfilled our trenches and completed our work, we'll be restoring all the grounds. Actually, this will be happening along the way as we complete trenches. We'll be backfilling, ultimately repaving trails that we affect, restoring all the lawns in concert with parks, and of course restoring the tidal marsh, which will be rebuilt very similar to what we had to necessarily affect to build our project. There will also be compensatory mitigation, so there'll be additional tidal marsh construction that our project will build due to that impact that we made to Randall's Island. Next slide, Jen. Okay, this we probably won't linger too much here, but this gets into a little bit of the weeds of our. These are the types of construction plans that we submit to New York City Parks to get their construction permits. And here's the phase 2 plan, which you can see the dark blue area where our HDD number 135 rigs are set up, and over to the bottom left, the green area for the other drilling operation. And the yellow access route that connects them is where that's the access for our equipment moving back and forth with supplies and personnel and deliveries and so forth. Next slide, Jen. And then here we have some photos of the work under construction. On the left, you can see that timber working platform being built. You can see our access road separated by construction fence from the grounds. We coordinated with Parks to set up the fence first in a off-peak park use position that was closer to the fields, and now it's going to be moving away from the fields for the on-peak peak season use of the fields to make sure that all the recreation can continue. And the others are just general views of the work. Back to you, Jen.
I think it's question time.
Oh, we definitely have questions there.
Great, thank you so much, Jen, Paul, and Steve. We appreciate your presentation. Before I open it up to questions, I have 2 of my own. The first one, you mentioned the concrete, having thermal properties to prevent heat leakage, outside of the, construction zone of the pipes. Can you just speak a little bit to how hot those pipes are anticipated to get and if there is anticipated leakage beyond the concrete?
Yeah, so the maximum operating temperature of our cables is 150 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the maximum that they're rated for. So generally it's be some at or below that level. And the design is based on this is throughout we call it the terrestrial part of our project, which is 150 of the 330 miles from Canada to New York. We have done geotechnical testing that assesses the thermal properties of the soil that exists on Randall's Island, which is in this case, a variety of fills, and the thermal properties of the soil together with the special backfill we use to get above dissipate that heat. So there won't be really any measurable heat experienced by the surroundings beyond a few feet from our cables.
Thank you so much. And my second question is just about the platform and its relationship. I think you mentioned that below the platform are wetlands, which is why the platform is being constructed so that you can continue construction without impacting the wetlands. The image you showed looks pretty expansive for that.
No. So the wetlands are in fact impacted by the platform, so it doesn't allow the wetlands to remain intact. The project will unfortunately had to affect those wetlands and will restore them. So we've been working with our ecological team to document the pre-construction conditions, and we're going to be designing essentially a replacement of similar ecology that was there. And again, together with new construction of mitigation wetlands on locations that we're working with the city to establish where they will be.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Are there any other questions, Michelle?
Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it, and I wanted to find out where the areas where you're going to be splicing the two wires together. Do they have like a permanent cement encasing around them, or will there be heat exiting from those areas on an ongoing basis?
It'll be encased in a vault, a concrete vault,
Correct.
right?
They'll be encased in a concrete vault, and the
In
vault.
Spots that you had mentioned.
Yeah,
that they have-
exactly. Yep. So that would be probably the only evidence of our project a couple years from now at the surface will be each of those vaults has an access cover, 2 access covers that'll be at grade. And we did in fact offer to the city that those could be buried below ground if preferred. But of course, the reason for an access cover is so you can have access. So the city was okay with them being at grade, but the chimney part, so from when you lift the metal cover off, it's 5 or 6 feet down before you reach the top of the concrete. So the vaults are considerably below ground as well.
And the cover looks like any other manhole.
Yeah, it's a 36-inch diameter cover. Yep.
Any other questions? All right. I think that's all the questions for today, but thank you so much for this update. And please, I think if there are any changes or major developments, we'd love to hear from you again. And of course, we'll have Donna here every month to check on your progress. So we look forward to seeing this project come to life. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you for having us.
And yes, if anyone wants to come wander around, be in touch with me. Let me know if any community board members want to come out and get a walking tour.
Oh, we would love that. I think
definitely.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much, Jen.
All right. Thank you for having us so much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No worries. Our next old business is just a conversation, really. We spoke about it a little bit before. I think last month we thought that this was going to take place at land use. Land use got canceled, and we decided it lives here in our committee, which makes sense. But the proposal to nominate Marcus Garvey Park to the National Register of Historic Places. All we need to determine is if we would like to add someone to the group, nominating and I don't know, support group. I'm not looking at Connie. And we just need to select someone. So if you're interested, please let me know. Otherwise I might pick someone or we might
Pick someone.
I don't know. I have no idea. Do you happen to know how often they meet?
Yeah.
Connie?
I don't think they're really meeting very much. And from what I can tell, it looks like SHPO is really spearheading this.
Okay.
And, it's a win-win situation for, accessing federal dollars and stuff like that. They have they're looking to put together a large budget to bring in the consultant. The consultant does all the work.
Okay.
In my experience, so.
When you not letting us know?
Sorry?
When you're not letting us know when you know what they're doing.
I don't.
You spent too much.
I've been there and done that and, it's a lot of research on, what the facts are. And the facts are a little cloudy because there's not a lot of documentation. But it's, Marcus Garvey Park is a culturally significant place. So my question would be, this focus is going to be on the cultural significance, not the architectural or physical condition of the park or anything like that. It's what's transpired there.
It's all.
It's a really significant, culturally significant place. And to my knowledge, I don't know if the National Register really gets so much into that. I don't know.
So maybe, yeah. Does anyone want to volunteer for this?
I'd be interested.
You can, both of us can do it. You talk more.
He's got for, we claimed it.
You'll have a million questions. You'll answer right. You'll have a lot of questions.
All right, I have 2 volunteers. I will see what is necessary and what the next steps are. And then I will follow up with you both. Thank you so much for volunteering. I really appreciate that. And I know it's like, oh my gosh, we have 2 people volunteering. What a problem. No, I would love everyone to please feel free to volunteer for all things as we have other. Exactly. Great. I think that's it on that point, unless there's any other conversation around that. I have more old business that wasn't on the agenda. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Oh, you are so
Oh,
great. Oh my
okay.
gosh. Okay, well, so in our sort of recommendation for Molzac Point at Ward's Island, there is obviously they gave us ample amount of time. There's really no deadline to make a decision. Now there's sort of a follow-up to that, which is, does the person or group that submitted the original name, to Connors Point, want to accept our separate nomination for a different name and revoke their submission, or how that's gonna play out, I have no idea. The other thing is that they have asked that we help to reach out to Black organizations and community stakeholders that might also want to weigh in on this topic. So I guess maybe we can, if there are any suggestions right away. I know Porfirio noted that we reach out to the Harlem Neighborhood Block Association group.
Yes.
Joel Jones.
So I'm a member of the Manhattan branch of the NAACP. So I can honestly reach out to them.
Oh, perfect. Any others?
It just seems like we may never get to it here.
I know. They've said
It's a process.
extremely lengthy process, which honestly
Yeah.
is
I mean,
great.
we read that.
Yeah, it should be, so that we all have time to weigh in, and you know how long we took to make this decision, so.
That's why I know we read it.
Probably better it's a lengthy process because then people can name whatever they want, whatever.
Okay, great.
So it's probably
I
better it's a lengthy.
volunteered to have a couple of native friends.
Oh, yes.
Native friends.
Thank you, Russell. So what we'll do is we'll send an email to you both, just to the whole committee, and if you could just, please liaise for the community board, invite others to weigh in, that would be really helpful. And we'll see how it plays out. The last element, as we discussed, is the Randall's Island perk. So the executive committee will be taking a position. I think an update on this was that since last month, they've heard that the city plans to extend the park in Randall's Island Park for at least another 6 months. So that brings it to a full year at the park. And obviously would be there throughout the summer and spring when there are tons of people who are looking to, use and enjoy this park. So Randall's Island is asking that we support their proposal to ask for the HERC to be removed. And I know that is a complicated subject and there's no easy answer. So I just wanted to get opinions from you all as we move into executive, and of course to invite you to executive if you would like to weigh in further at that meeting. Are there any comments on
Just
this?
clear, it's like right across the 103rd footbridge, correct? That's where it is? Like the exact location.
Donna Mills is on.
Yes, it is. When you come right over the 103rd Street Bridge, it's right there in front of you.
Now they have groups of kids going over the bridge for camp at Randall's.
Yeah, because I heard the walk was longer this year, that's.
Mhm.
Sure, exactly where it was.
Any comments or questions for Donna?
That's a hot walk.
Yeah.
Jewel.
So, I followed, I was looking at the city council's hearings, and there was a major concern about, obviously crime and violence, and there was some suggestions made by, city council in terms of, I don't know, more police or even like, what do you call it, some kind of, what do you call those kind of ways where people that enter or exit,
Turnstile?
can have detectors, yes.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, is there any information about that? In terms of, the level of.
Like sort of access control,
Yeah,
basically?
because I know most of the shelters have like a sign-in policy.
Yeah, Donna, do you happen to know if there's access control at the HERC?
Well, right now they have their own security, and NYPD is still present. Not only inside the facility, but also on park land just outside of it. And they're also stationed at the base of the 103rd Street Bridge on the Randall's Island side. So we have our PEP officers there that are, again, trying to keep us safe, trying to keep the asylum seekers safe, park patrons, staff. We had a meeting with the HERC folks today, as well as NYPD and all the appropriate folks. I know that the Health and Hospitals, which operates the HERC facility, I know that they're looking to install metal detectors. And I know that they're in conversations with City Hall right now. So we do not have a date on when that's going to happen, but that's definitely something that they're looking at as well. As I said earlier, they are at full capacity with 3,000 asylum seekers.
Any other questions or comments on this topic? Michelle, go ahead.
You said that they're at full capacity. Are there people that are also waiting to come into the facility? As in, is it overflowing? Or can it?
No, they cannot accept more than 3,000. That's the cap at this particular facility on Randall's Island. So there's no waiting area on Randall's Island for additional people coming in. They have to be assigned. So when they go and they register, they will be assigned. And typically a stay at this particular facility on Randall's Island is either 30 days or 60 days. And then they max out. So then they must leave. And usually we're told it's about 100 people per day, that 100 people will max out of that facility and leave and go back, re-register, and hopefully be reassigned to elsewhere, or maybe, as the intent of this whole program is, maybe move along and find a family member, get a job, and be able to establish themselves and try to get out of this system. So, and then with 100 people leaving per day, 100 more people come in. So it's continuously at this 3,000 person capacity. They only have 3,000 cots, so they do not put any more folks in there. And that, once again, based on our meeting today, that was confirmed still, that they're at capacity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
Just
Connie?
a brief comment.
Yes.
So 3,000 individuals, if we move the HERC, then where do 3,000 individuals go? I do think it's unfortunate that the HERC is there, but I just don't have it in my heart to say, just put them somewhere else. I just can't do that. They're human beings, they're not disposable.
Right, again, this is a mayoral initiative. And right now, we go day by day, and right now we are, hosting this particular facility until the mayor's office, we take our directive from the mayor's office. So that's, I don't know what would happen if they close this facility. Again, that comes from the mayor's office. So we just follow their directive.
Understood.
Ashley?
I saw somewhere that the mayor is cutting some of the funding to the new asylum seekers. Would that affect this facility? And if it stays, have you heard any word on that?
We have not heard any word on that. We have not received any confirmation on that at all. So we do not talk about the speculation. There's a lot of things, as you know, that are going on in the news. In fact, we all heard yesterday that they were on the news that they were looking to institute a curfew for the asylum seekers, and yet none of that has been confirmed to us. So again, I think we need to be a little careful about what is being reported in the news as well.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay, Donna, I guess the question from myself is that if the executive committee decides not to support necessarily the removal of the HERC from Randall's Island, what can the community board do to assist you all through this process?
I would say that that's a question for our president, RIPA president, Deb Marr. While we work very closely with RIPA, I'm a Parks employee. We're not necessarily privy to a lot of those conversations at that level. So I would defer to Deb on any of those types of questions.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge, that this request is being made out of urgency and, concerns that Randall's Island Park Alliance has for the park and the usage of the park. And I just wanted to acknowledge how appreciative that we are as a community board for the partnership and collaboration with Randall's Island. And no matter what the board decides to do, we hope to maintain that partnership with you all and support you in whatever way that we possibly can. So we'll see how this shakes out at executive, but
Right.
appreciate being patient with us as we work through this together.
Yes, of course, absolutely. We're always here to support CB11 as well. And if there's ever anything, I can do on behalf of Randall's, we will always be as transparent as possible with you. So yeah, I guess we have to see what's going to happen with the executive committee.
Thank you so much, Donna. Are there any further comments or questions? Okay. All right, with that, we will move on to is there any other old business? Is there any new business?
I got new business.
Right, go ahead, Russell.
When I saw this registration, this register of this National Park Register, Historical Park, there were some things that I was doing. And I was working with Steve Simon with Abe Lincoln Playground is a historical landmark. 135th Street between Fifth and Madison Avenue.
Yeah.
To a blank in my own block.
I got you.
No, because I'm trying to say, so what's being happening right now? 135th Street and Fifth Ave, right there, Vince McMahon's grandfather, it was a Commonwealth casino in 1920, right on our property. right where I run my program, historically. His grandfather owned the first black professional basketball team that left there, the casino, to move to the Renaissance Ballroom that we know now is the Harlem Rings. A buddy of mine, colleague of mine, his name is Floyd Johnson with the Black Five.
Oh.
With the Black Fives adopted the Howard Bennett Playground on 135th Street between Fifth and Lenox, which is in Community Ward 10. The Harlem Y is a historical landmark for the basketball players. In 2022 or 2022, I was working with Steve Simon to see how we can get a landmark, something that could landmark it. This is, here lies a marker. Vince McMahon at that time decided to go regularly off the deep end. So we didn't know how to navigate that, talking to WWE and finding where he was. He quit, he came back, and the girls come into play. So we didn't know where he was. We still don't. So like I said, I've been communicating. I was partnering with the WWE since in the 90s. I brought him up. Matter of fact, WrestleMania 20, when it was here in New York City, I had all the wrestlers. I put them in all these different agencies around the city, as well as taking all these kids to Madison Square Garden. So there's gonna be a corridor, 135th Street, starting from Abe Lincoln Playground to Howard Bennett to the Harlem Y, historically landmark, that's gonna wind up in whatever they're doing. And I was a part of the naming of the street at the Harlem Renaissance, which is on 137th Street, 138th Street and 7th Avenue. So I wanna say, how do we do something? Because I've said, when I saw the registry, I'm like, damn.
Thanks, so.
Money could have been involved in this. Because I've got a point by the point of the gun, I got Steve trying to stick him on.
Yeah.
The park department to do something like that, that's what we were doing. And I didn't bring it to the board because I was like gonna fast forward how to make it happen legitimately with Steve Simon. It wasn't like I'm trying to backdoor. It was trying to play beat the clock. It was gonna be 100th anniversary, all this historical stuff. Vince McMahon, what you doing today? Oh, man. So this was, so I just want to say this at the table. I want to get the community board involved in that whole project so it could be a legitimate project all the way through. That's what I'm working on.
Great, thank you so much, Russell.
Okay.
Why don't you speak to, Save Harlem? What is that organization?
Save Harlem
Now. I mean, that's a project that they may take on and they would know how to get it done.
All right, so involved in this, there's a lot of people who are protective of it. I knew John Isaac, who was a Ren. There's a lot of family members that are still around. And there are people who are historically, when it comes to who owns them, who owns that type of stuff, with all the racism and all the stuff that went through, it comes back up. When it comes to even the city itself, or who's gonna take the ownership of it. I'm just doing it like innocently, let's just landmark this, let's landmark that. No money's being made, let's just say who could make the investment and preserve it and document history as that.
What about maybe connecting with, the Schaumburg Library?
Yeah.
Everything's
supposed to wind up in the Schaumburg.
No, I know, but I'm just
And
like.
it's another buddy on Harlem Cultural Archives, I know that. I know that.
So everyone you're mentioning was involved with when the Ready was being torn down. And I was involved in, trying to save it as well. And there are people who, this is what they do.
I was trying to make it, I actually played in it, so I knew as a kid, partied in there too.
I just, the only thing I would say is just, we know the players and we know the players that think that they're players, right? Because they don't rely on people being around and remembering and telling their story. So I think that maybe we may want to have a conversation with some folks and just, set the parameters and tell the truth.
Those conversations being had, but with the other institutional things.
Yeah.
Could be of help, the hearing.
Cause we don't,
Cause I would not.
we
think
just
about
did a thing
it.
at the
They
state.
know how to do the paperwork.
Yeah, that's how we do paperwork, like parcel out.
Yeah.
And we can assist, I think,
Yeah.
I don't know the process of,
Yeah.
and we can follow up with.
And I mean, I'm welcoming all that. People at the table are astute at doing that. It's just a matter of how to institutionalize it where it becomes a formal thing.
Right.
A formal,
You could do it like with Juneteenth and all this other stuff.
whatever happens,
Mhm.
when it comes to something like that, someone always gonna say they own the property. We talk about the city owned property, I mean, it's my park, so I'm like, shit, I'm here.
No, I get it, I get it.
I'm part of the continuum now.
I do see Donna's hand raised. So Donna, do you have a question or a comment?
I have a quick question about Earth Day. You said it was going to be April 19th.
Hold on one more minute before, while we wrap up.
No, this is good.
Oh, okay.
So how do we, that's to start the conversation,
that's
we
fine.
can continue it.
That's also Unity Board 10, because.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
right, so it's not the community boards, I'm gonna get in contact with them, like I said, on that, but officials connection, definitely.
Yeah, it might be nice, the two communities, coast to coast.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I was thinking you said someone's office, let them help you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the new council person just have him, pick it up as an initiative.
Great. Any other questions or comments on this, new business from Russell?
Thank you.
All right, before I move on, Donna, go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no, that's fine. So real quick, you mentioned that Earth Day event will be April 19th. When will we get the details? Because I'm trying to figure out how we can be involved in that, given that our big Earth Day event is the following day.
Yes, we have a subcommittee that's working through this. We have a draft email and a save the date ready to go out this week, so we'll send that over to as many people as humanly possible in the, before the week is over. But it will be the same venue, so it's gonna be held at the Museum of the City of New York. Instead of doing the sort of talking heads version and presentations in the auditorium, we are gonna do sort of like a community fair version where it's just booths on the patio. We'll have some amplification tools to allow people to give short presentations. Again, we're hoping that it can be as interactive as possible. I know that you had previously suggested the worms. I'm happy to bring up the worm bin to the island again. Because this is in collaboration with, as many people on our committee also serve on the Youth and Education Committee. We will be working with D4 and 5 schools to bring children to this. So it's about interacting with the audience of young people.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
And being that it's outside, I don't see how they would have a problem with it.
Right, I did ask if it was only outside last year and they still said no, but I'm willing to die on this sword. I want the worm bin. Any other questions about Earth Day?
Nope.
Civitas, will you be there?
100%.
Great.
100%.
All right, well, we look forward to chatting on Monday, yes.
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead.
President House.
Yes.
To announce, when are you having another seminar or workshop on pedestrian safety sometime soon? And when is it?
Yes, yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal. We the turnout was great, the discussions were great. Thank you so much for participating. We're going to be doing something a little bit different this time around, possibly focusing on land use and how certain changes, for example, that are happening with the city of Yes could impact our neighborhoods. So we're looking at that to see how we might incorporate an educational series around that.
And when would that be?
So we just talked about it today.
So we get the brief.
Morning at 9 o'clock, we had a 9 o'clock. Exactly, so.
Yep, I just interrupt, I think this is a public safety and transportation item, so I invite you all to join that committee to discuss this topic.
Yes.
We are going to adjourn our meeting.
We still gotta call roll, we can't like.
Before we adjourn, we're gonna take roll call for attendance.
Oh my
Please
gosh.
stay present when your name is called. Please limit the side conversations until the meeting is over. Russell. Everybody,
Rosa Diaz, Jessica Elliott,
present.
David Giordano,
Present.
Jewel Jones, Connie Lee,
Present.
Malik is excused, Debbie Quinones,
Present.
Asher Rodriguez,
Present.
Russell Schuler,
Present.
Michelle Wilshire Clement.
I'm here.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's it.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone.
All right, I can move. You finished. I was like, I can move.